So in this last election, I believe the Democrats let independents vote, and the Republicans didn't.
Okay. So someone, a Democrat, if he was allowed to vote in the Republican,
He would have to have registered independent, in which case he wouldn't be a Democrat.
then he might decide, I'll vote for the candidate who I think can't win.
That's true, yes. You can screw with the elections.
Yes. That'd be bad.
Well, it's kind of fun. I mean, you don't do it with your real, registration. You do it with one of the other fake ones.
How often do you have to vote for a governor? Every
4 years.
And there's a 2-term limit.
Yes.
What's with term limits? Why do we have them?
We have them because it's critically important that lobbyists be allowed to control the process. And so term limits allow lobbyists to make sure that competent legislators can't stick around for long.
Okay.
And since competent people can't stick around for long, the only people that run are generally suck-ups who eventually want to go on and be lobbyists.
All right. Well, thank you for that. That's elections.
I'm glad to have helped.
I forgot to mention at the top of the show that we're live. I did mention that.
You did.
And we're taking your tweets. So we have a Twitter account set up, John Wants Answer. Now, there's no S on the end because the Twitter people
Suck.
only allow that many characters. This many characters.
Yeah.
So tweet us at John Wants Answer, and later in the show, we will get to your tweets. And if they're interesting, we'll read them. And if they're not, we'll just laugh at how bad they are.
In American, that's John Wants Answer.
Okay.
There's no "were" in the middle here.
Oh,
That's Canadian.
answer.
Yeah.
Next up, I want answers about the Supreme Court. So I was in Washington, D.C., and I took a photo of a building. And it's going to be on the screen right now. There's going to be a picture right here.
Look, it's a Supreme
Yes.
Court building
That's a building
in Washington, D.C.
picture I took in Washington, D.C. Do you recognize that picture?
I do.
Supreme Court building.
It's lovely clouds.
It was an overcast day. Very, very hot and humid. So, is this photo of the Supreme Court? Answer.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I'm trusting you. I mean, you could have photoshopped it.
What is the Supreme Court?
It's the Supreme Court.
Okay, so what kind of cases does the Supreme Court listen
Well,
to?
the supremacist, really. See, the American judicial system is based on a whole bunch of levels of courts. And then you have state courts and you have federal courts. Federal courts can only hear federal cases. State courts can only hear state cases. So in both the states and the federal system, you have the lowest level courts, kind of the municipal courts that are run by the cities and the counties. Then you tend to have district courts above them that are kind of, larger sections. And sometimes you have more than one level of district court. And eventually you have the highest court that's capable of ruling in that jurisdiction. So California has the California Supreme Court. Nevada has the Nevada Supreme Court.
Right.
Nebraska has half of a Supreme Court because they're a unicameral system. So they don't have both. And the federal level, we have the federal Supreme Court.
What causes a case to go, rise up in the ranks of courts?
So after you've gone to court and lost, generally you're angry. Mm-hmm. And then you go to your lawyer and explain that you are angry about something. And your lawyer realizes that he would like a nicer boat. And so he tells you if you give him even more money, he will appeal your case to the next level up of court. And that court may decide that the court underneath them was full of idiots. Mm-hmm. And if they decide the court underneath them was full of idiots, sometimes they will decide that what they need to do is reverse that court's decision and then send that case back to that court to decide it again. Or sometimes they'll even say to the lower courts, you can't even do that, we're deciding it ourselves. So sometimes your lawyer will decide something was done wrong. He'll appeal, sometimes he'll win, sometimes he'll lose. Either way, he gets the money and buys the nicer boat.
Uh-huh.
But that's how cases move up. So sometimes if your lawyer wants a really, really nice boat, after you've lost at the municipal court and then appealed it to the district court and lost there, perhaps he will appeal it to the Supreme Court and charge you even more money so that you can lose in more than one sometimes you can lose in 4 to 5 courts.
Sounds good. How many judges are on the Supreme Court?
There are, I believe, 7 judges. There might be 9. I mean,
9.
2 can keep track. They're all dressed in those black robes. They pretty much just blend together.
Now, one of the Supreme Courts recently announced, Sport Cream judges, recently announced he was going to retire.
Yes.
Who is that?
I don't know.
Some guy?
Yeah, some guy. Again, they all blend together. I mean, they're black robes.
So then, what happens when a judge retires? How is a new judge?
Well, you go to the minor leagues, and you try and find a kid with a good arm. Maybe someone that wants to move up, has a...
I think you're confusing it with the minor league of baseball.
Oh, God, I always do get those confused because they're so similar.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's kind of the same, except you don't need a kid with a good arm. What you need generally is someone who's been to Harvard. So you call Harvard and you ask them, who are all your graduates that aren't currently employed as very highly paid lawyers or lobbyists somewhere? And they have an alumni thing that keeps track of this stuff for people because it's good for them.
Isn't the
they
president
send you the list. Yeah, generally you're the president when you do this.
Decides to nominate
and the president picks someone from this list of people at Harvard. Currently he picked Elena Kagan or Eleanor Kagan or someone Kagan.
Right.
A woman, Harvard, I think. I'm assuming. I mean, they've all been to Harvard, so that's a pretty good guess.
So when the president nominates someone,
yes,
then the person doesn't automatically just become a Supreme
no.
Court judge.
First, there's an obstacle course.
Obstacle course. What's that? So there's people.
Well, it's an actual obstacle course with tires and the swing with the rope over the thing.
And then doesn't the Congress or Senate
after
do
that,
something?
if they get through the obstacle course, then they have to get the approval of the Senate.
How does that work? Do they vote?
Yes, the Senate votes. Sometimes they'll watch the tape from the obstacle course, particularly if it was funny.
Is it just the Senate?
But then they'll have like a hearing, and they will ask a bunch of embarrassing questions of the nominee. They'll say things like, in 4th grade, who sat behind you? And then you won't remember because it's 4th grade, for God's sakes. And then they'll bring that person out, and it'll be like a tearful reunion. And then that person will talk about how he used to cheat off, his paper. And then that'll disqualify you for the Supreme Court.
So I've noticed during a lot of nominations that the topic of Roe v. Wade comes up a lot.
Yes.
What is Roe v. Wade?
Well, like I said, a lot of people come from Harvard. Harvard is just huge in the rowing. With the tiny little canoes up and down whatever that river next to Harvard is. That's the row part. The wade part is if you're not good with the little canoes and you tip over, then you have to go back out and get the canoe and bring it back on shore and dump all the water out. And to do that, you have to wade in the river. So people want to know what your decision on Roe v. Wade is if you've been to Harvard and want to be in the Supreme Court, because they want you to be in the rowing camp. Because if you tip your boat over and have to go out and get it wading, that you're just going to lose.
I thought it was something about abortion.
No, a lot of people get those confused.
So let's say it was about abortion.
Okay, fine. For the topic of discussion, let's assume Roe v. Wade was a famous abortion decision decided in the early 1970s by the Supreme Court when a woman named Jane Roe, well, it wasn't her real name because she didn't want her real name used because she'd been accused of a crime, and so it was appealed under a fake name, and the fake name they always use is Jane Roe.
Okay.
Unless you're a dude, in which case it's John Doe. And I don't know what they use if they don't know if you're a girl or a dude. Maybe they mix it up, like Jane Doe.
So this case was decided.
Anyways, this case came out of Texas.
And it legalized abortion?
Well, she had filed suit in Texas because Texas didn't allow her to have an abortion. She said she should have the right to have an abortion. Texas decided against her, went to the federal appellate court. The federal appellate court agreed with Texas. From there, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that there's an implicit right to privacy in the Constitution that applies to women's medical decisions, and that the state couldn't impose itself by preventing a woman from making a decision up until the point at which the child became viable and could live on its own without essentially getting life support from the mother.